the world is on fire. How do we bring the temperature down and the joy levels up? Because interestingly enough, joy and play are in the same element as that stress and fire. And so if we can learn to take that stress and fire and turn it into play, then we have a way of like quantum leaping up to the next level. Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Works. I'm here again with my lovely co-host, Blaine Wilkes. Hi, Blaine.
Hello, equally lovely co-host, Lauren.
Hi. I'm giggling a little bit. I'm getting the giggles even as we started this. We are going to do a third episode. I don't think we've done this before about a same topic. But we're just going to third time's a charm. We're going to wrap a bow on this one. We're going to talk about play. And if you're like, oh my God, not play again, this is my least favorite subject, please hang in with us because there's a couple of things that I want to add to this conversation. So Blaine and I have been kind of going deep on it, and it's gotten really serious the last couple of times, which is a little bit why I'm laughing, because it is a serious topic, and it's also a not serious topic. And this time I brought the book with me. I always like to give credit to where my ideas come from. And this is literally, the book is called Play by Stuart Brown, MD. I'm just holding it up there for those of you who are looking. It's really fascinating and it's really fun. And there's a few last ideas that I want to talk about here. And so last time, Blaine, when we met, we talked about different iterations of play and different ways that we play. And it kind of got serious of like, am I playing enough? And what even qualifies as play? And is that play? And is that not play? And according to Stuart, cooking wouldn't be play. But then you and I kind of got offline and kept talking about like, actually, that's totally play. And even if something has a purpose, you can still be very playful within that. And so it sort of felt like you and I wanted to redefine what we felt was play. And I just wanted to circle back with you before I go off on these couple of new tangents about how you've been feeling about play since we last talked about it.
Yeah, like you said, we did go back and forth a little bit, and I was a little defensive on the last podcast. Because, ego protection, right? That's one of the reasons we're always defensive is we're protecting our ego, right? We want to be right. And we don't want to hear things that are, I think especially, I'm in the health and wellness space. And so I live in this space with the people that I coach and my students and all that sort of thing. And when, sleep, right? Like, I'll just take sleep. When I suggest that they could go to sleep earlier, there's just push, all the reasons why that might work for other people, but it won't work for me. And that's ego protection at its, I think the purest definition is that I am different from you. And so we are separate. That's the ego. The ego says I'm separate from everyone. And so that might be what other people call play, but I do this and that's my play, right? I think I was coming a little bit from that ego protection place in the last pod. And then, I stepped back and was looking at some photos of some fun cooking projects that I entered into with my friends. I mentioned them on that podcast in the spirit of play. It's like, here's this new product that is available to us we've never had before. And so it's a medium, it's a craft, it's, you know, and then we got into this whole, well, is creativity play or not play or whatever? And then I was like, okay, well, if being creative, you know, isn't play, or even painting, I'm like, at the end of painting, which I started doing because I'm trying to check my play box, I hold up a painting at the end, right? And so is that, it produced something. It had a purpose, you know, but to me, I was taking time of my day where I could have been doing something, I guess, with greater purpose, like answering emails, and choosing to like get out watercolor and paints and paintbrushes and like look at a thing and paint it and like calling that my playtime. And so I think I texted you, is there purposeful play? And you said yes. And then here we are again.
Yeah, I think that's we are well within our rights to redefine what we think of as play and what is playful. And I'm curious, after you did the well, two questions. When you did the watercoloring, did you have fun?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's playful. So my second question, which would be more to the thesis from this book, after you did your watercolors and you went back to answering your emails, did you feel any different? Did you feel a lightness, a more playfulness when you were crafting your emails?
Yes.
Really? You're not just saying that?
Yes. And I sound hesitant because I guess I'll just go there. So I mentioned before, I have a Oura ring. And so when you wear this biometric device, it is measuring your body temperature and your breath rate and your heart rate and your blood pressure. And I mean, it's just measuring all these things. And it puts you in one of four categories. You're in a restorative place. You're in a relaxed place. You're in an engaged place, or you're in a stressed place. So those are the four buckets. At any given moment of any day, it's saying you are restoring, relaxing, engaging, or stressing. And so I can absolutely say from a biometric perspective, I don't think I was restored, but I was at like the low end of relaxed. Versus when I'm working, I am almost always stressed. Like it puts it up in stress. And I used to worry about it, but I've had the ring long enough that, and I know myself well enough. I mean, I am a highly engaged person. And so I am highly engaged in all of my life. I am an intense person. It is my wiring. And Oura has its own AI. And I've had long chats with Aura's AI about that. I mean, you always say I'm stressed, but is what you're calling stress for somebody else what's really engaged for me? You know, and their answer is no, because we're following you all the time. So we know when you're engaged versus when you're stressed. But I mean, that it calls me stressed. Sometimes it says I'm stressed for 9 hours a day. That would be like a super high day, but it's almost always like 4 to 6.5 hours. And it's when I'm working, but it's just because like I'm so focused and my mind is going and I'm like typing. And so my engagement gets really high. I'm not someone, and we can go way back into me being in corporate and just all the pressure I was under all the time. And I think for me, my internal wiring of work is high stakes. And that's just the way I operate. And, but I've been trying to, we talked about this last time, I've been trying to take more breaks during the day and all of that. And while me taking more breaks during the day doesn't lower my stress during the day, it massively increases my recovery while I'm sleeping. Whole different topic though, not play. So yes, I felt relaxed and like I was having fun while I was painting, and that data showed it too.
Okay, that's the point. That's where we have to come back to. So the data, I love that we have, this is science at work now, that you played, and then when you came back to work, your stress levels while you were at work, which had been consistently high, were now down in relaxation.
Yes.
That's just huge. Like, that's a mic drop moment, Blaine. That's literally a mic drop moment. I mean, we have just proven this theory that the more you play, the better that you are in every other area of your life. Because while you are feeling strongly engaged, your metrics are showing that you're stressed, which we know doesn't promote the highest level of performance. So even though consciously you are feeling it, you're at a high level because you're engaged and you're like working diligently, the physiology of your body is not actually performing at its highest level because you're not in actual coherence the way you are when you are relaxed or rejuvenating, or I forgot the third one. The fourth one? What's the fourth?
Restore.
Relaxed, restoring. I mean, I almost want to end the podcast there, but I have a couple other things to say about play. That's just amazing. Blaine, doesn't that make you just want to play all the time now?
Oh, yeah, never work for sure.
I think, for me, as I've been literally playing with this idea, I've been trying to actively bring play more into my work. So, we have this upcoming retreat. Well, if this is evergreen, then it won't be upcoming for you. But we teach every other year at this beautiful retreat center in Canada called Hollyhock. And our topic in 2026 is like surviving the chaos, right? It's not political commentary to say like we're in a very chaotic, stressful time right now. And so that deregulates your nervous system, all of this kind of thing. And so we've been really working on that curriculum and what exactly that we're going to teach, what is the best way to help people rewire their nervous systems and all of that. And we've been, we use all of these energy medicine and energy medicine yoga techniques because that's who we are and that's what we do. But the last few weeks as I've been really thinking about this, it's leaning either two ways. One is like, the world is on fire. How do we put the fire out? And that's really constructive because the world is on fire. And that also, a lot of people that I know and a lot of people in our community feel that is also in their lives. Like there's a lot of stress in individual lives as well, because of course we're just a microcosm of the macrocosm. So the more pressure there is in the world, the more pressure we feel in our own individual worlds. So there's that one angle is the world is on fire. How do we put the fire out? And of course we've got tools for that, right? We've got an app for that. We've got tools for that. But the other side of that equation is the world is on fire. How do we bring the temperature down and the joy levels up? Because interestingly enough, joy and play are in the same element as that stress and fire. And so if we can learn to take that stress and fire and turn it into play, then we have a way of like quantum leaping up to the next levels, quantum stepping up to the next level without having to put the fire out and then relight the fire of joy and creativity, right? Because it's all from that same element. And so I've really been thinking about that idea of play and how to harness that. And one of the things that really dropped in for me also is this yogic idea of play on a grand scale, and it's called Lila, and it is the play of the universe. It really means that, like on some level, this is all just a cosmic play, and that we don't need to take everything so seriously because it is all play. Have you heard that concept before in
I definitely
Sanskrit?
have not. I haven't heard it called Lila, but when I'm in India, teach like with my master there, he talks about the cosmic play of life endlessly.
Yeah.
And he also says all the time, watch the play, don't be in the play.
I like that. I like that. That's really interesting because that's a dynamic that a lot of yogis struggle with is that's the witness self. The witness is watching and then the engager is playing. And we go back and forth in our lives. And I think a lot of people struggle with which one am I supposed to be in? Am I supposed to be the witness all the time? It's ideal to be in the witness self. But when we're in unity consciousness, in the flow state, in the God state, as they often say, then you are one with everything, right? And so you're both in the play and watching the play.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But I love that idea in the yogic literature that this is all just a divine play that we're all engaged in, because it does take some of the pressure and the stress off of, I often say this, like for people that feel really self-conscious, which I had for years, is nobody cares what you're doing. Nobody's thinking about you. Nobody's like talking about you, right? And so this idea of like, it doesn't matter on some really grand scheme. And so that if you can come with a bit of a more lightness, instead of every decision is so consequential, everything is so important. And again, that's that ego attachment that you were talking about earlier. But if we can just lighten up and be a little more playful, then it makes everything a little easier.
It does. It does. Yeah, I agree. I struggle with this as a runner all the time. I mean, every race, right? I mean, I run because I love it, but I also like to compete because I love it. And so on one hand, I'm like, I really want a time, or, I have a goal that I'm very about. And on the other hand, I'm like, no one cares. It doesn't matter. It literally does not. And Blaine, you kind of don't care either. Because if you miss your time, like, you'll go to sleep tonight and tomorrow is a new day, and like, you'll have no charge around. You know what I mean? Like, even whatever charge I have about a victory or a loss is so short-lived. Mm-hmm. And so moving through life, and I'm an intense person. I'm a competitive person. I want to do my best work, like every moment. I want, and so I'm very present with what you are saying. And I think that's why with the play, I'm like, but I am also, I know in my head, but I also know in my body that the more it's the yin and yang, right? Like the more that I play, then the better my work will be.
Which you have already proven out with your data, right? That's a proven, that is now, can we call it a fact? That is now a fact.
Mm-hmm. We can call it a fact. And another interesting piece of data, which like gives me great relief, is that they have a measurement called cumulative stress, which has like 4 levels. The lowest one is called low. And my cumulative stress is always low. And so, what my data is like, I do have these stressful periods during the day. I have incredible recovery while I sleep. And so I wake up the next day with no cumulative stress. And so I literally, like, I have no cumulative stress, even though I have stress, because my restorative body while I sleep at night, and I have great, the deep sleep, the REM, just like all of my sleep numbers, my HRV is, it would be very much bragging if I told you the average HRV of a person my age and what my heart rate variability is. It's unbelievably high. It's like what 20-year-olds want. My cardiovascular age is like 36 years lower than my actual, you know what I mean? So the stress isn't accumulating on me, but it's because I'm bringing in more play, which just makes my daily metric be lower. But my sleep, my body recovers from it.
So I think it would be really interesting to track, now that this idea of play has come more centered and solidly into your world, to track that over time to see if your daily stress also lowers. Pretty soon, Blaine, you're going to be like 10 years old.
I don't think it keeps going down, but yeah.
Okay. So before we finalize our conversation about play, which now we have facts, we have emotional, anecdotal evidence about the joys of play and how valuable it is. But I want to just lightly touch on the negative aspects of play, because there are some negative aspects of play. Part of the value of play is it teaches us about boundaries. It's like, how far can you go before it's not playful anymore? And this goes back to when we were really playing a lot, which is when we were kids and young adults. And it's when we're playing with a bunch of people and we're starting to individuate who am I versus who is everybody else? What is my personality? Like when we're starting to try on our identities. And that in itself is very playful. It's like, I mean, if you can remember back to when you were like a tween or a teen and, you know, you did crazy things with your hair and you wore all kinds of weird outfits and like one day you were goth and the next day you were punk and the next day you were hippie and the next day, you know, like all of these different things you were trying on and playing these different roles to decide to guide you to who you really wanted to be. And we do that similarly when we play with others. You know, that teasing, which can be playful at first, but then it gets to the place where, oh, now you hurt someone's feelings. And so you learn, okay, that was fun until that went too far and I hurt someone's feelings. Or the flip side, you were the one being teased and you got your feelings hurt. So this is when play doesn't sound so fun. And then there can be the whole gaslighting element of it. I was just playing. Don't take that so seriously. When you're like, wow, that didn't feel playful. That felt really hurtful. And so all of these ideas of, you know, learning boundaries, learning who we are, learning who we can trust and how we can trust. And so that meanness, like the Mean Girls, right? I don't know if there's a Mean Boys equivalent, although we certainly know boys are very mean too. Why isn't there a Mean Boys movie? Maybe because most of the movies just are the Mean Boys movies. We needed one that was just calling it out. But we know, right, that kids especially can be very cruel, very cruel. And in a quote playful way, right? The last person picked for the kickball team, right? Like all of those kind of things that start to feel not fun, not playful. And then there's one other piece of play that is also very harmful, and that is the addictive play. And the first thing obviously that jumps to mind is video games. Now there's been, you know, a lot of data that shows that can be some beneficial things about video games, like eye-hand coordination and different things like that, and, you know, problem solving, computer stuff. But they're also highly addictive. And I think Japan right now is suffering the highest rates. They have names, and I should have looked this up before the podcast, but there's like names for when you're addicted to video games. And there are, I mean, they have detox centers, rehabilitation centers. Like it is a big problem. And people have died by playing video games because they literally will not ever get up from their computers. They get blood clots, they die. So this is play taken to its horrible conclusion where it is no longer a desire, but it is a compulsion. And similar things like betting, you know, gambling. It starts off as something fun, like, hey, $2, you can't win that race, Blaine. And then all of a sudden I'm betting $100,000 that Blaine is going to beat her time by 0.03 seconds, right? And then it becomes big industry as well. So like everything in the world, we can take it to the extremes. One extreme is never play, no time for play, irrelevant, not necessary, it's a waste of time. And the other extreme is I don't ever get up from my computer. All I do is play 24/7 on a video games and then I die. So there are these stark extremes. And I just wanted to bring those in to acknowledge that play is not all fun and games. What do you think about those ideas, Blaine?
I agree. I think it's good. It's good to point out.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to kind of keep a little consciousness in your duality of where you swing to on that. If you know that you have a really addictive personality, maybe you're going to stay away from some of the more addictive forms of play. And I mean, really, I can only think of, well, actually, I was going to say like video games being the most addictive, but like, I think my husband's a little addicted to golf. I don't know that that's a bad thing, But, like he works a full-time job and then he texts me most days and he's like, I guess I am playing golf today. I'll see you. And he plays till dark. So he's like out of the house from like 9 to 10, 9 in the morning till 10 at night is his work day plus his golf day. But I don't know that that is unhealthy until it becomes unhealthy. And so you need to kind of track that. And so like I would say for Blaine, somebody like you who you train really hard and you do all these races, you're the only one that's going to know when that training and that racing and that competition stops being fun and starts being compulsorily competitive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, all runners know this. I mean, you feel so great when you run, but it's also a very challenging thing. There was a commercial that was run. I can't remember if it was a running shoe or a Cliff Bar or like it was a commercial, and it basically had this woman and she's like in her house and she's like, and it shows like the running shoes like just sitting alone by the wall, and she's like, running and I broke up. I decided that it was time. I broke up with running. And then it shows her walking down the street and some runners go by and she like turns her head and gazes at the runner and she's like, and now all I want is running back. And it's so real. Yeah. And so I think that, I mean, the thing with running is that you get hurt if you're overdoing it. And so forget what your brain is saying. I mean, there's the flood of, I call running my drug, right? I mean, but it is a drug. The flood of chemicals that washes over your brain when you start exercising is as potent as any street drug. And so when you remove yourself from that, right? I mean, you feel it, but your body has a limit. And so your body will take you out via a stress fracture, a pulled muscle, something if you're doing too much. And so that's my dance. I mean, I've literally been running for over 35 years with almost my biggest injury is I was hit by a car on my bike. I mean, that's what took me out, the longest. I mean, I've always just had pretty minor injuries, but it is because I've really found the balance of movement and rest. But, we keep aging and our body, I don't have the same body now that I'm going to have in 10 years or even, 5 years or 1 year or whatever. And so I have to keep tuning in, which is one of the reasons why I had an Oura ring over 10 years ago. I got rid of it. And then I just got a new one because I want some objective data as well.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that deep paying attention to the body. Who is the runner? I want to say it's Jim Fixx, but tell me if I'm wrong, who ran every single day, never skipped a day, and then like dropped dead at like in his mid 50s or something.
I've heard of something like that. I don't know.
Is that Jim Fixx? It might be.
I don't know a name or if it's urban legend.
It's not urban legend. It's not urban legend. Some eagle ear listener will drop that into the chat and let us know. But that was, that was taking play, recreation, joy, pleasure to the wrong level of degree. I can never take a break. I have to keep going. And that is beyond play. That's not listening to the body, right? And so part of that playfulness, also part of that boundary learning, which keeps you from going into that negative play, is that attunement, right? That really listening to how things feel physically and emotionally, and can I say spiritually, if you're attuned to that of like, does this, and I don't mean spiritually religiously, I mean spiritually, like, does it make me feel more connected or less connected? Because to me, that's sort of the root of spiritual feeling, is that you feel connected to yourself primarily, right? That's where the divinity comes from, is that deep internal connection to yourself, which then deepens the connection to the field of all that is, but it starts being connecting with yourself. And that play, whether it's alone or with others, in its ideal form, you feel that connection and that flow state. Like when you watch a team playing a game, it's beautiful, right? When they're all playing together and it's like one unit, but they're all, all these individual people, they're in flow state, which is a spiritual state of being. So it can be really joyful. Any last words on play before we wrap up this powerful, hopefully big takeaway for all of you?
And hopefully final episode.
No, Blaine, the way you say that makes me feel this hasn't landed with you. Do we need to start again?
No, please, God, no. No, I think it's been great, and thinking about the people who are listening, the takeaway, we'd love to hear the takeaway from you. And if, when you listen to us, do you think maybe I should play a little more? Or like, what's the thing I love that I could do? Or, do you already play plenty? Just this all got kicked off because of Lauren telling me about this book and then me being like, what? And so I'm making meaningful changes and, we're all evolving and learning and all of that. And so, yeah, I bought watercolors. And so I pat myself on the back, to bring more of that in my life because I know it will serve me in many other avenues.
I love that. And I hope you all take a big takeaway from that too. And, one of the things that is, I think, really powerful is that Blaine and I are really playful on these podcasts. Hopefully you feel that and you take that away. We challenge each other. We open each other up to new ideas. And we are both really, I think in the deepest sense, non-ego attached when the other person shares an idea. I won't talk about this right here, but Blaine has shared a couple ideas on the pod or in our teachings that I'm like, no way. And then I'll slowly try them and integrate them. And just like Blaine did with play, I'm like, oh, she kind of had a point there. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of transformative. Okay, I guess I'll go and try that. So if any of those resistances are coming up in you, then hopefully you'll listen. When you have a resistance, it's really pointing to something valuable for you to look at. So if you're having a resistance, check it out. Let us know. And if you're just playing, tell us what you're playing. We want to know. We read every comment and we really love hearing from you and knowing what you want to hear more of from us. So thanks, Blaine, for playing my reindeer games.
Fun as always, Lauren. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Alrighty, energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you. So please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates. So light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.